Well, as John said, the vehicles are getting ready for the procession. We want to talk a little bit about the procession when it gets going. Along the route, the very first stop will be at the Terre Haute Police Department, where that memorial is for Detective Ferency, and the final 10:42. Walk us through what will happen.
So a dispatcher, whoever is going to be doing that, the dispatcher will read 10:42. It's essentially a roll call. You're trying to summon the officer. The officer is not responding. The dispatchers and all other officers realize the officer is not responding. Something bad has happened, and then they will actually read to where the circumstances of the death, in this case Greg's death, and then offer him a 10:42. They'll say going home for the final time. That's the one that usually gets me pretty good, right? Well,
just
every part
talking
of this
about
does.
it is sure. It's very moving. Greg's car, of course, is still at the memorial. There will be a portrait of Detective Ferency at the memorial as well. And that 10:42 will happen when the coach arrives at that memorial site. You see it there with all of the flowers. They will stop temporarily and then move on. You said at a pretty quick pace to get toward Calvary Cemetery. The second stop they will make is at the Garrison Flag, which is at Brown and Wabash. And we have News 10's Blake Dahlia there as they are preparing for that. Blake, what can you tell us?
Now, Patrice, I just want to step out of camera real quick because there is a lot going on right now here at the Garrison Flag. As you can see, if we look up there, the fire trucks have hung the flag at the corners of Wabash and Brown Avenues, and it's really windy out, so the flag is actually flying at seemingly a horizontal angle there. So where I'm going to pan next is I'm going to show you the intersection of Brown and Wabash. This was where the flag was supposed to originally be hung, but because of the power lines you see up there, that's why they had to move it. So crews have been working diligently out here just to get things set up for Detective Ferency, and they've done quite a good job doing so. Now, if you look down the street, you can also see there are hundreds, I kid you not, hundreds of people just lining the street to show their support. And, well, it really speaks volumes, too. It's a work day. It's the middle of the week, and people are coming out, whether it be on their lunch breaks or taking the day off, just taking time out of their busy schedules to honor Detective Greg Ferency, whose coach will be proceeding down Wabash Avenue in just a few minutes here. Now, again, I'm standing outside the Garrison Flag, and hundreds of people out here. We even had the Terre Haute North football team coming in uniform carrying the thin blue line flag. So quite a bit going on here and quite an overwhelming amount of community support for Detective Greg Ferency. You can really feel just the somber mood in the air, but also it's an uplifting and just a thank you coming out, pouring out from everybody across the Wabash Valley and Terre Haute here. So Patrice, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
What wonderful stories are coming out of the intersection of Brown and Wabash. Wonderful to see all the people coming. I saw lots of small children. That's great for the educational opportunities. Interesting that Blake mentioned the power lines.
Yeah, they have to take that definitely into consideration. I mean, you have metal ladders that are supporting that 40 by 60 Garrison flag. So yeah, their safety is important to everyone as well.
Of course.
So that good move on their part, and sometimes you have to adapt and improvise. That's exactly what they did.
Let's talk about the history that seeped in that Garrison flag. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's not so much military, but it's a military spec sizes. So there is some military incorporated into it. But that's something that's been done, gosh, I've been on 33 years, it's been done that before I even got on. But one of the things, that's your advance party right there that we're looking at.
So it is starting?
Yeah.
Oh no, this is the advance party.
The advance party. They will go under the Garrison. That will be the only one that will be allowed to. They will run the actual procession route itself to get to that, and to give an alert that all the people that are at the intersections, that is coming shortly, whatever time that may be, I don't know. I'm guessing probably, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes maybe for everybody to get in their cars, maybe 20 minutes total for them. And I think the actual procession as it passes by will be about 20 minutes, depending on how long the 10:42 takes. But this is just the advance party that you're seeing on screen right now.
And what is their role? What is the advance party role?
You have bagpipers, you have riderless horse, you have color detail, you have firing party. You have people that are helping assist in parking, the oncoming vehicles, meaning the ones that will be arriving in the procession. There's multiple duties that are occurring out there before the procession gets there.
Okay, and again, the first stop will be the Terre Haute Police Department headquarters. The second stop will be at that Garrison Flag location. Now, so far, it looks like rain has held off, and you said that's a really good thing because that flag can become extremely heavy.
It can be, and it can put quite a bit of stress on those ladder trucks as well, which happened before, where we've had to do some very quick adjustment. So let's hope that doesn't happen. The wind typically doesn't affect it. If it does start being an issue, the fire department will rig it accordingly so the wind won't be that big of an issue. But the wind and the rain, at times that could be.
Now, of course, this is a live look, so please pardon as our cameras move, but we want to show you everything around the Holman Center. These are the motorcycles. They will lead the procession.
Yes.
The motorcycles, then Terre Haute Police Department officers.
Yes, and then the FBI task force or FBI themselves, and then any other agencies that are here will also be involved in it. They will lead the coach and everybody else.
And the family, of
Yes.
course. And only certain people can go under that Garrison flag.
Yeah, only the people involved in the procession detail. Nobody at this point will be allowed to go under that. Once it's up in the air, raised, nobody's allowed to go under it except for the advance party and obviously the procession itself.
Okay, so Common Joe that's driving along. All right. And there are people, as Blake Dahlia showed us, at the intersection of Wabash and Brown that are kind of directing traffic.
Yeah, there is. I saw some volunteers, and I obviously saw some firefighters there as well. So you probably different variety of people there that are all pitching in. Maybe with the personnel you mentioned it before, where other agencies are covering for the officers right now. The Terre Haute officers, which is phenomenal. But you also have that with firefighters and medics and all first responders. If they're attending this, somebody is stepping up into their place to handle it.
Well, you brought up a wonderful point. If you have an emergency at home, do not think that you can't call 911. You can call 911 if you have an emergency at home. We have good people that are covering this city. We are looking live now. This is the advanced procession that is just flying by THPD because they're not going to stop for that 1042.
Correct.
Okay, and you can see dozens of people are lining the route. This is your time now. If you are listening to us, please get out and line the route if you can. Take your children. It's an educational moment. Teach them why we're doing this. Teach them the historic significance of every little piece that goes along with the funeral, with the procession, and then ultimately with the burial. There's a lot of history seeped in there that's just fascinating.
There is, and a lot of people will typically say, it's all honors for the officer, and that is not the case. That is only 50% of the case. The family and the friends and the community
and the department, the whole department.
Absolutely, that make up the other 50% of that.
Sure, because today is not just about honoring Detective Greg Ferency. It is about honoring all of Terre Haute Police Department members and his fellow FBI members, and really all first responders. It's a brotherhood, it's sisterhood.
Absolutely, and this is extremely important, obviously, the remembrance of our fallen. However, it's equally important to remember those who are still with us, those who are still out there doing the job for you, for somebody else. That's what's really important. That's what cops honestly thrive on. They love that thank you. They don't need anything else. A simple thank you and an appreciation for the job they've done. Obviously the remembrance of our fallen brother Greg right now, but what our officers do every day, day in and day out. Officers
and all military members, of course, as you know, being a veteran yourself. We do want to mention, though, you said you mentioned Greg's personality, and the Reverend mentioned that this would probably be overwhelming to Greg, and he'd be like, I don't want all this attention. He was very humble.
Yeah, so humble. He actually told Josh, don't even bother reading his book. So, I mean, who does that? I mean, you wrote a book for other people, and then you tell them, that defines humbleness to me. Sure,
and he was a gentleman who did all of that work, all of that legwork, all of those hours, and really did not want the commendations, and now overwhelmed with commendations. But I'm sure it is wonderful for the family. And as you had said, it's probably a whirl right now, a whirlwind, and that they will be able to sit back in the coming days and see what a beautiful ceremony and contribution that their son or brother made to this community.
Absolutely, and thanks to WTHI's help, there will be some video for them that I know you will share as you've done in the past. We also have videographers and photographers that we were capturing stills based on what the family would like to see, even some things they may not think of. They will be given those privately, by our team, to just in case.
Even the songs he would have wanted were played today.
Yes.
And all of the medals of commendation in the shadow boxes. The one thing that I remember is, and I've seen it at our local military bases, walk me through this, the helmet that's put to represent the life lost, life gone.
Yeah, so we've adopted that from the military, so the gun on the ground no longer in use. The helmet for protection sitting on the very top, and the boots, they're not going to be worn anymore. And there's also, you probably couldn't see on the statue itself, but there's dog tags, that's what they call them, but they're name, rank, serial number, which is a social security number, blood type, etc. on those dog tags. That was those identifying features. That's what it was used for, but those things are no longer needed, but they're not forgotten, and that's the symbol that you saw on that statue.
And I've seen those statues at our military bases when we've lost military members as well.
You see, we remember. That's the caption that you'll see typically on the majority of those statues.
We remember. I saw one there at the head of the funeral service. Now, will that go somewhere in front of the THPD, or will that be given to the family, or do you know?
That likely would be given to the family, and the family makes the ultimate call. So, I mean, there are some things that the THPD will have to have back, but most of the things the family will get back, or they could say, no, we want the THPD or whomever to have this, and then they'll make that decision, join with the chief.
Sure, but important things like his badges will be buried with him.
Yes.
Okay, understandably for privacy's sake and for safety's sake. Taking a look at the funeral procession route, if you are thinking you want to head out, this is where you go, all along Wabash, from Holman Center down to THPD. That will be the first stop for his final 1024, and then or 1042. Sorry, and then the garrison flag at the corner of Brown and Wabash, and ultimately a Calvary Cemetery. I am very pleased with the number of people I saw out there, but I'd love to see more, just to show the community support.
They're probably watching right now and trying to get a time frame and then head out there. So I'm pretty confident. Again, sadly, the last two that we had, Pitts being the most recent, that there were quite a few people out there. I was very awestruck by that. This community, I've been here 33 years. Very patriotic, very loyal, wonderful, good-hearted people who I know that will show their support to Officer Ferency and Greg's family. We're going to take another live look outside the Holman Center. These motorcycles, they're just ready. They're waiting to go. They're ready, and they'll bunny hop. What they'll also do is they'll we call it run. They'll run each corner of the coach, maybe even three on each side. But typically they'll run each corner of the coach, and it's very difficult to do on a motorcycle. And the coach driver really has to know what he or she is doing, because it's actually very dangerous, even though it is very low speed. But there's turns and things that you have to be in unison with, and they don't get a chance to practice. So they'll bunny hop. They'll have some in front, and then they'll have some on the coach itself. Okay. News 10's Ross Rawling, he is in that squad car. He's going to be riding along with the procession, and here's why. We want to be in there to get the audio of that 1042. Walk us through again, if someone is just joining us, of what Ross may hear and what we will hear. So when they stop, everybody will fall in behind, so the family will stop directly in front of the station, and 1042 will be broadcast over the radio. And what that is, it'll be probably an alert tone after you're trying to summon the officer. So in this case, it'll be Greg and his PN number, the 129 that you... The badge number? Yes. So they'll try to contact him. He will not answer. And they'll try maybe one or two more times, and they'll even hit the alert tone again to try to garner his attention. Then they will realize that something bad has happened, and they will explain somewhat the circumstances that occurred, when exactly date, time that he lost his life, serving our community, etc. And then it will be his last call. That will be his last call, his final 1042, his final call. And they may say there are other whatever they decided to put in there, I don't know what that's going to be. That is their personal, working with the family, what words they want to use in there. That will be very difficult for most people to maintain dry eyes with, I assure you.
If I recall, and I hope memory serves me right, it was Officer Brent Long who was killed 10 years ago. His wife was the dispatcher who did the final call, is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
That was
Yes.
so
Yes.
moving, and how difficult for her to do that.
Yeah.
We will, of course, Ross Rawling will be bringing that to us so that we can hopefully get some clear audio of that, because, and here's why, when they do stop in front of the Terre Haute PD headquarters, there will be lots of sirens, lots of noise. And 3 years ago, during Rob Pitt's 1042, we almost couldn't hear it well. So we have actually embedded someone inside a car where it's quiet.
Yeah, and that shouldn't have happened. Then I think there was a circumstance that was beyond our control of why you heard those, and that would not happen because they will run lights only in this procession.
Okay.
The advance party will run lights and siren, but lights only in the actual procession itself, unless something that
Is
we didn't.
going on.
Yes.
Sure. Because this community is still being protected by outside officers. We are hoping for some movement soon to get this procession going. You said still, even though it's going to start soon, it may take 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, yes, and I noticed the motorcycles just turned their lights on, so that is a good indicator that
Here
they
we
will
go.
start hitting the intersections.
Now, it will take 30 to 40 minutes because of the number of vehicles
Yes.
involved.
Yes.